everybody, and welcome to the Dev Morning Show at Night. My name is Cassidy Williams, and I am accompanied by my lovely co-host, as always, Zach Plata. Hey, Zach.
Hey, Cass. I heard a really cool dad joke today from someone at work.
Tell
Would you
me.
like to hear it?
Yes.
Okay. How did the developer become so poor? They ran out of cash.
They just wanted a raise. Speaking of
Lovely.
humor, I'm related to someone, and her name is Cami Williams, and she is an engineering manager for Platform Advocacy at Meta, and she's here with us today. Cami, hello!
Hello, thank you for having me. What an amazing kickoff to the podcast. I've never laughed so hard at a joke.
Wow. I feel like lightly insulted by your tone.
Also honored.
Yeah. What's happening? But hello, Cami. Tell us who you are. I mean, not us, because we know you, but what are you working on right now? Tell us what you do.
Yeah, so like Cassidy introed me, I work at Meta. I'm on the developer advocacy team supporting the Metaverse, Meta VR, and then also the React ecosystem, which you both are very familiar with.
That whole thing.
So yeah, we all know about that. But yeah, I work really closely with teams in Meta Reality Labs to shape the future of VR, AR, and XR. Currently working with some really cool technology to create mixed reality experiences with your Quest device.
Ooh. So when you say be able to create mixed reality experiences, so it's dev focused where we could build things in there and not just play games?
Yeah, so we have some really cool libraries and SDKs where you can essentially bring items in your real world into your VR experience, and so we call that mixed reality. It's kind of really intuitively named, but it's mixing both virtual reality and the world around you.
I have a question. Okay, so I've heard of AR and VR, but I'm a noob around all of that stuff. What does XR mean?
So at Meta, we say XR is mixed reality.
Oh,
so
mix
it's
with the X.
Yes, the X and mix. But it depends on who you talk to. It could be just anything with reality. So for us, with mixed reality, from a developer perspective, we have something called Presence Platform. And Presence Platform is in 3 parts, which essentially is all mixed reality components that you as a developer can integrate into your VR experience. So the first one is voice. So voice, bringing your voice into VR, being able to say commands. The way I've seen people use that is there are cool wizard games where you can say spells in VR and then it will
That's fun.
Oh.
the spell. Yeah, so that's one. The second one is interaction, the interaction SDK. It's basically right now hand tracking. So instead of using controllers with your headset, you can use your hands. So there's some really cool experiences. My favorite one is the Hand Physics Lab, which is basically a fully immersive hand experience where you can build things with your hands and mesh things together all without controllers.
Like clay?
And then the last one, yes, like clay, but in VR, so there's no mess.
Oh.
And then the last one, which is really cool, it's our Insights SDK. And Insights is kind of what I was talking about before. If you have a chair in your room from a developer perspective, you integrate the Insights SDK into your VR app, you could be able to determine, hey, my user playing my experience has a chair in the room. I'm going to make that chair into a toadstool that they have to sit on. And once they sit on, a bunch of singing frogs come out. And just kind of using those different things to be able to make your world that much more immersive.
I was wondering what you meant by bringing things in. I was just like, could my rubber duck be in VR? But the chair makes a lot more practical sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all based on a imaging model. So I don't know if rubber ducks are trained in the SDK yet. But to think about from a utility perspective, if you have a desk, you can create a VR experience where it turns your desk into a cubicle, or maybe you're working on top of the Empire State Building, something like that. So basically taking like some relatively simple but easily identifiable objects and bringing them into VR.
You bringing up a desk and that reminds me of the TV show Severance. Like if a severed person had like that experience. Whoa.
The Dev Morning Show at Night is a sponsored podcast. It means someone has to pay the bills around here. We're sponsored by Launch Darkly, and Launch Darkly is the first scalable feature management platform. That means dev teams can innovate and get better software to customers faster. How? By gradually releasing new software features and shipping code whenever they want, fast-tracking their journeys to the cloud, and building stronger relationships with business teams. Thanks for the money, Launch Darkly.
Anyway, Cami, what does your day-to-day look like?
Like in general, or working at Meta?
I mean, I guess in general, but also working and stuff, because you have an unusual role where you are a part of developer advocacy, but you're also an engineering manager, and you're also in this very new realm of technology.
Yeah, well, I guess I try to wake up every day at 8 a.m., sometimes earlier. I don't wake up to an alarm. I've been like trying to train my body to wake up.
I was going to say, you also have a dog that could wake you up too. So
yeah, so I have a dog. She resembles the lion in my background, even though she's a dog. She's big, white, and fluffy. So if she doesn't wake me up, I usually wake up and I play Tiny Tower, which is one of the first iOS apps. I
was going to say, that's an old game.
Played. Yeah, if anybody wants to play Tiny Tower with me on Game Center, I have no friends who play it, so let me know. Then I brush my teeth and get dressed.
You're getting very granular with this.
The nitty gritty.
And then I jump into work, and I currently work from home. I'm based in West Seattle, but I'm hoping to return to office soon. And depending on my day, it can look a little bit different. It usually is depending on the time of year. So this time of year, we have a lot of competitions running because it's summer and some people have the free time to experiment with different things. Maybe you're on an internship, maybe you're taking a summer vacation. And so Meta does, like I said, a lot of contests around this time of year. So actually just a week ago, I was waking up every day and judging a Horizon Worlds contest. And if you're unfamiliar with Horizon Worlds, it's basically our first view into what the visual metaverse could look like. So you can enter into Horizon, and it's a social experience, so you can see other people in Horizon and go to a comedy show or watch an NBA game together or play laser tag. So it's both a combination of like a gaming experience, but then again also social. So I was judging a Horizon Worlds competition, and I basically was just stepping through these different VR experiences that some really cool creators and developers built within Horizon. Some of them made escape rooms, which were a lot of fun. Someone made a space where you can do different conferences and events, but virtually. Another person made a game where it's basically a giant coloring book and you can color the space around you.
Man.
So
the future's
something like
wild.
that. The future's pretty cool. I usually spend at least half of my day in VR. And then I have lunch. And then I usually meet with my team, whether it's the people that I support or some of my cross-functional partners, to discuss things that we're working on, new releases, stuff that's on the horizon, pun intended, and then create content and learning strategies according to that. And then I stop working, I walk my dog, I eat dinner, and watch Severance.
And I just sit in the dark until the next day.
Yes.
And then I
Rocking
sleep
back and forth
in
the
VR.
corner. Yeah.
Do you ever get just
That's
seasick?
a typical day, I guess.
Do you get seasick spending all that day in VR?
You know what? Sometimes I do, actually, and I have to open a window or stick my head outside.
We're just
or
like,
something.
reality is there.
'Cause
Touch grass.
it can be a lot. I actually, the last time, so Cassidy, you're my sister.
Hey.
The last time Cassidy came to visit, I had just started taking meetings in Quest. So
It was wild.
there's another thing called Horizon Workrooms, and when you enter into Horizon Workrooms, I have my own virtual desk. I have a virtual computer that I occasionally work on, and that computer is like a normal computer. I can code on it, send emails, schedule
You
things,
code in
whatever.
VR?
And then
What?
yeah, it's actually really amazing. On my virtual desk, I have like a virtual plant and some virtual pictures, and then I have like my virtual laptop with a virtual keyboard that I type on with my hands, no controllers, and
Are you
work on
using
that.
your
It's-
physical keyboard when you do this?
yes, yeah. So I'm using my physical keyboard and mouse, so I can feel like the, I guess, haptic reaction from that. But we use a desktop application that you just click run on your computer, and then your computer is basically like copied into your virtual cubicle. And it's really nice because my team is a distributed team. We're across the world. And so whenever we go into meetings, we all enter in the same virtual conference room, and then we can go back and like work in our own little desk or say hi to each other if we want to have like social time. It's really,
That's wild.
really cool.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's especially great for, you know, being in kind of like a post/current pandemic world. It's brought us a lot more close together. But then also I've noticed whenever I do meetings in VR, they're so much more productive because we're all so hyper focused in the meeting.
Huh.
Like when you're in the meeting, you can obviously like see each other, and it's kind of gimmicky because you're just your avatar self,
Yeah,
and you
you're
don't
just
have a
like,
lower
"Oh."
half, so
Yeah.
where are my legs? I don't know. But then and you can switch the background. So we had our meeting in Santorini the other day, which was really cool, or you can have one in a forest. But you end up actually, at least for us, we focus so much better because we don't have the distraction of anything else outside of
That's
that
true.
like fully immersive experience. Like I usually don't bring my virtual laptop into the meeting, and we're just talking and whiteboarding with each other using our virtual whiteboard, and it's really like engaging. It's made our team very productive whenever we do our virtual calls.
It feels
I'm
dystopian, but
amazed.
you're speaking about it so positively. Maybe it's a good thing. Like it
Yeah.
feels like one of those like young adult books where someone's been trapped in there, and a ragtag group of teens is gonna save the world, and interrupt meetings in the metaverse. But it's also cool and hard to comprehend, honestly.
Yeah, well, and I think, kind of to your point, the way that VR has been for the past however many years, or at least portrayed, has always been in a very like adventurous gaming environment.
Right.
But we're starting to see this transition where it is becoming more of a utility or productivity tool versus, hey, I'm just going to go in and play Beat Saber for 5 hours. No, I'm actually going to go and work and collaborate with my coworkers who live in Germany and Canada and me in Seattle, and we're going to sit together and whiteboard and like figure something out. It's this experience being in Horizon is the first time where I felt that in VR and realized like, hey, this is more than just a gaming device. This is, you know, a tool that we can use day to day, especially at work.
So like when you're in Horizon and you're working on like your virtual, machine and or even on your real one, like what kind of tools like terminal editor and all that stuff do you use on a daily basis?
So with Horizon, you can enter Horizon and build without, IDE or using code. So that's why we say that Horizon is meant for creators, builders, and developers. Because there are aspects that you can program. The program can look as simple as something that resembles Scratch, or it can look a little bit more in depth.
Scratch
But again,
is
it's
the
one of-
drag and drop coding language.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know out there.
Yeah. But it's like one of these first things where you can fully build an experience in VR without having that heavy overhead of like everything that causes more VR developer iteration time, like building on Unity and then considering optimization and performance, and then also like hardware restrictions. So with Horizon, it's truly just like when you were building for Horizon, we're in Horizon.
So
what I'm not,
so there's no programming languages that you're using, or I guess that might be what you were about to say.
If we're thinking within Horizon, no, there's no like specific programming language. If I'm thinking about building for VR outside of Horizon, so building a standalone VR app, or prototypes or anything to showcase new features that are a part of our VR SDK, I'm a Unity developer, so I work in Unity. And for those who are familiar with Unity, that is primarily C#. I also use something called our Oculus Developer Hub. So Oculus Developer Hub is the most essential developer tool for anyone who has a Mac wanting to build for VR. It is essentially a tool that lets you control your device, even without a cable, to cast, send ADB, Android debug bridge commands, monitor performance, show metrics overlays while you're walking through your experience, determine what visual aspects are a heavier versus lighter lift on the hardware. And that's something, like I said, as someone who works on Macs, it's absolutely crucial because prior to this tool, it was impossible to get.
It was Windows, basically.
Yeah, it was Windows. And then outside of that, I rely very heavily on the Unity community to help me with my assets and graphics because I am not a designer by any means. So the Unity Asset Store, there's a lot of amazing developers there. My favorite one is Valum. He creates amazing stuff
Shout
that
out.
has just made the Unity game developer community like so much better.
Cool. Okay, so you've talked about a lot of the future and where we're heading.
Future. Like Squidward. Future.
I'm moving us forward to rapid fire questions. In the rapid fire questions, we're going to be asking you a bunch of questions rapidly, and we'll try not to catch on fire. Pew pew. Okay.
Oh no.
Cami, what project ideas are you squatting on, and which ones haven't you built yet?
There are many I haven't built yet, but the one that is most top of mind is Uber for home tools. So I'm in the middle of a home renovation right now, and we've bought a lot of tools that we've only used once. And it would be so great if someone built like an Uber or Airbnb type platform, but for home tools, where it's like, hey, I have a tile saw. You can use it Friday for $50. Return it after you're done.
I actually
And then
lived close to
you
a
do.
tool library pre-pandemic and stuff, but it was only specifically for our neighborhood, but it was such a smart concept. More people should do that.
That is
Yeah.
so cool.
Someone needs to build that. Yes.
No.
Awesome. All right. What is the most recent thing you over optimized?
Probably on my daily walk with my dog. She is a very intelligent human being and is definitely the alpha of our little family. But when it comes to dog walking, I have managed to put together a route that completely, well, it's two routes. One where she gets to see her friends and one where she doesn't, if I'm in a rush, which sounds so sad. But on days where it's like too hot or maybe I'm in a rush to do something else, there's a specific route that I've optimized that avoids all of the other dogs in the neighborhood. And then if I'm like, hey, let's go on a leisurely stroll for 2 hours so you can see all your friends, then I go the other way where she can.
Does
through the
she
whole
does
damn
she know
neighborhood.
that as you're going the other way, she's like, oh, this is a sad walk?
You know what? I think she does, but she's just happy to be on the walk anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like a net positive.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's your golden rule for coding?
Test-driven development.
Ooh.
So I know, like, especially when you're building prototypes, writing tests is probably not the first thing that you think of, but test-driven development has saved me so much time and my sanity throughout the years. I started doing it because I would be the person who would write the whole feature and then write the tests and then everything would break. But starting with writing the tests and then going off of that to build your feature is just, it, for me, it works every time and it just makes life so much easier.
I did that a lot more when I was a back-end engineer, but as front-end, it's much harder to do because you have like, it's a lot of visual stuff and it's hard to visually write a test at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it iterates so
I'm
often.
sure, yeah.
Yeah. All right. What is your favorite "it depends" question?
Ooh, definitely should I go work at a startup or big tech? So I totally think it depends. Not only does it depend on you, but I think it depends on where you are at in life, your career aspirations. For me, I've been in big tech for many, many years now, and that's not to say that I will stay here. I think it depends. My next role, it depends on the technology, something that I'm uber passionate about, or if I just want golden handcuffs.
That's real. What is the oldest piece of tech that you still own?
My Game Boy Color.
Yes.
So I have 2 Game Boy Colors, a green one and a pink one, and then I have their link cables so you can trade Pokemon with each other.
Oh yeah.
The green one, Cassidy, you know this, our father found on the side of the road
In a
when
ditch.
we were young,
Yeah.
probably like, yeah, late 90s, early 2000s. And then the pink one, I got in college. I think I got it at a GameStop that was like a couple miles out from Iowa State and bought it exclusively to trade Pokemons with myself.
So good.
I love the dedication.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Have you written a piece of cringy code? And if so, what was it?
Also, yes. So, when you build for VR, especially in Unity, I can't speak to working in Unreal, but throwing and buttons are notoriously one of the hardest things to do.
Interesting.
So I was building, yeah, it sucks. So I was building this obstacle course VR game, and there was a part of the game where I wanted you to throw a ball into boats, and then when you were done, push a button. Again, should be relatively simple, but throwing and buttons suck. So for throwing, I basically said if your ball touches anywhere, then you pass. Meaning, like, the boats are in front of you, and as long as you throw in front of you, it's good. Versus, like, up or behind you. And then with the button push, you could push the button down, but you could also push the button up or sideways or
Oh no.
out
Oh.
or in. So as long as the button was touched in some way, you would progress.
It works.
No one's
Gosh,
gonna know.
that sounds so challenging.
Yeah.
What's your favorite programming pun?
I wrote it down. I need to read it. This is less a programming pun and more of a keyboard pun.
We love them.
I love pressing the F5 key. It's so refreshing.
You are out of control with these keyboard puns. How can I escape from this?
Whoa.
Nice.
Thanks.
Twice. All right, Cass. All right. And then last one. What's your most used emoji?
my most used emoji is the sunshine emoji, and it's because I live in Seattle.
That's where you get your sun?
Yes, summer didn't start here until July 9th this year.
Oh, gosh.
At least for me, it didn't start until July 9th, where I was like, okay, it is shorts, it is t-shirt, I am getting a tan. It wasn't like that. And so we had the longest winter ever this year, and the sunshine emoji was like, okay, I'm going to manifest this through my emoji choice and use the sunshine.
And it worked. You brought the sun.
I did it.
Eventually.
You're welcome, Seattle.
Okay, it is time for the random segment generator. We will get a random segment, and you'll answer the things that we say. And the first one is Dev Oops. What's a story of something that you broke?
Oh no. I do actually have a answer for this that kept me up many nights.
Oh no.
So when I was an engineer at Google, I mentioned that I am not a front-end engineer, and
Where's this going?
so I had to learn things kind of on the job, and it definitely wasn't the first thing I pushed, but it was one of the first things I pushed to Google Slides. I got code approval and everything. It was approved, so sent out the PR. Everything seemed fine. But then the next morning, I had so many messages from people in France. And it was because I broke YouTube in France.
Oh, gosh.
It was... I don't think it was all of France. It might have been a specific region. But I just remember thinking that I was going to get fired. I didn't get fired, but it was absolutely horrifying and very sad because I had to then, roll back my feature and start from scratch.
Oh, gosh. You could make a joke about that. It was like, oh, it was broken in a specific region of France. Everywhere else, it was just sparkling broken. You know, like the Champagne region and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't get it at first. So.
There you go. Gosh.
Maybe don't share that joke at a party.
Fine. Maybe don't break YouTube in France.
Too soon. Moving on to the next random segment, it's merge conflict. So tell us about a merge conflict that you had to deal with in the past and how you overcame it.
Could I talk about a conflict that
was
resolved?
Yeah,
we love it.
Cool. So yeah, like I said, when I joined Meta, I was one of the first developer advocate hires. And so a lot of my initial first few months was writing the role description and the leveling guidelines and the interview. And it's kind of shocking, especially given projects like React and PyTorch and GraphQL, that there wasn't a developer advocacy team at Meta behind it. This role didn't exist. It was just a bunch of really awesome engineers who wore a lot of hats who kind of together filled that role. So when I first joined, we definitely didn't want to say hey, stop doing that. It's our problem now, because obviously for projects like that, especially given their successes, there was a lot of care put into the community and not something that we wanted to detract from by taking it away. And so we kind of had to find our space, the problem that we wanted to solve. And it was honestly really hard at first, especially because, coupled with the fact that we were creating the role, we were working with Meta open source, and there were, at the time, over 600 projects at Meta open source. Now there's over 800. And it was just a big thing to tackle. And again, working with people who had already done such a great job and not wanting to cause conflict with them by, stepping in as the developer advocate role. And so for us, the problem we spiraled because each of the people that were then hired, we each took the top project in our pillar. So for me, working on PyTorch, I was in the MLAI pillar. We had React, Docusaurus. Not only were we a new role, but we also became very fragmented because we were working on different projects with different audiences. The projects were at different points in their life cycle, had different product goals. And so very, very quickly, like, our team spiraled downward and we weren't sure what to do. And ultimately we came together and we're like, okay, we want to be a collaborative team. We want to be centralized. We want to work together. So what is a problem that is a horizontal across all of these projects? And the one that we managed to identify was basically like a team owning developers and engineers as a customer for Meta. You know, if you think about Facebook at the time, customer 0 was consumers, and then maybe creators or enterprises, and then a really strong but far down fourth was engineers and developers. And so we thought, okay, we're going to own engineers and developers as a customer, and we're going to work towards creating a cohesive narrative across all of Meta's developer offering. So if you're working on PyTorch, you would be able to identify things that maybe you see on the Meta VR side and have a bridge to move over to that space, or know where to find your place within like a Meta VR project. Similarly with WhatsApp or WitAI. If I'm a WitAI developer and I want to look at WhatsApp, we are going to make that bridge for developers to, again, be able to build with different Meta technologies at a very recognizable and reliable pace. So TLDR, the conflict was we didn't know what we were doing, and then we figured out what we were doing.
Human merge conflicts are significantly more difficult than code ones.
Yeah,
For sure.
That's for sure.
Okay, now it is time for the Mild Panic Trivia Fun Game. We have 10 seconds to rapidly ask a question or rapidly compliment each other. Zach will do Cami, Cami will do me, I will do Zach. Zach, you go
Okay.
first.
Cami, what are you listening to right now?
You talking?
What song are you listening to?
Like song?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I still have to listen to the new Lizzo album. I was literally talking with Zach about that, so I need to listen to that. I have been really into the Euphoria soundtrack. Labyrinth is an amazing composer and artist, so I guess I'll say Labyrinth. Like, he has really cool, moody music that doesn't always have words, and so it's really good to, like, work to. And then also the Seattle Symphony Harry Potter orchestral album. They were recently here, and they have their album on YouTube, so also fun. Cassidy, what is your favorite restaurant in Chicago?
Oh gosh. Probably Cedar Palace. It's a Lebanese restaurant. It's kind of hole in the wall, and there's like a grandma in the back that runs the whole ship, and I think all of the people who work there are related. The food is so good and so legit, and I just want to inhale their hummus all the time. It's amazing.
Wow.
Ooh,
Yes.
you could try that.
So good. Zach, I like the cut of your jib and also the cut of your shirt. Where did you get it?
I got it at Target. Do the cool kids still say
Ooh.
Target?
Love Target.
Target is
Is
excellent.
that still too cringy? I don't know.
No, it's good.
Cool.
All right. It is that time of the show, and it is time for Cassidy's Sage Advice. And I'm Cassidy. So here it goes. There are a lot of different paths for getting into technology. There's so many different routes that you can take. There's so many different roles that you can have. I mean, even just one cool career. There's a lot of people who are still entering the tech industry that don't know about all of these roles, but you might know about them, and you might be someone who can teach them about that. And so I'd like to say lift as you climb, and also kind of pay it forward. As you're moving up in your career and you're figuring out what you want to do and what you want to be, be willing to share the information that you learn with other people, whether it be to students, to junior developers, even just the people who are one step behind you, because kind of like what we said before, you can't be what you can't see. And if you can be that person for someone that shows the possibilities of what a cool career in tech can be, that would be great, and it makes the industry better for everyone. That being said, Cami, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. It was so fun.
Thank you for having me. This was a blast.
Yeah, it's always fun when you get to talk about the cool things that you're doing. Where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at CWillyCS. At the time of recording this, I am exiting my Twitter hiatus and getting help from a lovely team at a company called 98LA. So shout out to Celine, Truman, and Rachel, who are helping me come back on Twitter. I think a lot of people took a social media break with the pandemic, so getting back into it is pretty hard. So if you're looking for any help, definitely check out 98LA. But yeah, check me out on Twitter. You can take a look at the content that I create on any Meta VR channels. So we have a YouTube, blog, and podcast. You can also check out my content on Meta open source channels. So we have YouTube, blog, and our podcast, The Diff. So anything on there. And then if you want to connect with me, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Totally happy to offer any career advice. And if you're interested in the path of developer advocacy, I am hiring and building out my team. So feel free to reach out if you would like to work on Meta VR, the Metaverse, or the React ecosystem.
Cool. And once again, because making podcasts is expensive, this show is brought to you by Launch Darkly. Launch Darkly toggles peaks of 20 trillion feature flags each day, and that number continues to grow, and you should use them. You can head over to launchdarkly.com and learn about how. Thank you for making this show possible, Launch Darkly. I've been Cassidy Williams. You can find me at Cassidoo, Cassidoo, on most things, and I'm CTO over at Contenda.
And I'm Zach, and I'm a DevRel at Rive, and you can find me on Twitter at ZachPlata.
Thank you for tuning into the Dev Morning Show at night. Make sure you head over to our YouTube channel where you can like and subscribe. You can also listen to the audio version of this wherever you get your podcasts.